Hello and welcome to the second video on integrator automation. This video talks about the level 1, which is also known as the system integration and communication. So what does it all mean? So in another video on outputs, we learned that we can define when a job is in a particular location that we can trigger an output. For example, for this particular job that we have here, we have an output that is the XML file and the PDF. Now, the XML file that we are generating, this is the default XML file that all integrators are generating and that you can output, but it's quite involved. So it may not be a good idea, it may not be such a good idea to give that to another system for that to interpret. So it might be useful if we could make a condensed version of that XML file that contains just enough to do, for example, a quote. So let's do our first example. So what the module system integration and communication enables is actually in the preferences. There is a section now called custom scripts. That becomes active when you have this module. And there are scripts behind there. And the one that I'm going to show you is an example where we're going to make an XML file that goes to the bacon system, whether it's for a quote or to fill in the tracking system. We're making a custom XML file. That one will be triggered. The location will be when the job gets into the status or location ready to quote. So how do we get there? Well, we know from our other video on how to handle to-dos. There are some to-dos here. We're not going to handle them. We are actually going to accept them. And in my case, the workflow has been set up that when I do accept all, that the job will go into ready to quote. So as soon as ready to quote gets triggered, or the job gets into that location, that custom script gets triggered and it will make the output for me. So that is now done. We look over here and now we see that there is a file, an XML file called 6 bacon, 6 being the ID. And this is a smaller XML file with some information that we are interested in. So that is one example. Another example is that we can, since the scripting allows us to run everything that we can do in Java, and it has access to the database of the job, so we know the results of the QED, we can come up with all kinds of scenarios. But one very typical example would be that we want to have a quote. So what if our quote is actually done in Excel? Well, we have an Excel template that is our quote, and now by enabling a second example of the system integration, I'm now going to enable the script that will actually fill in an Excel template. So I'm going to save, and I'm going to re-trigger the ready to quote by doing the accept all again. And that will now do the second script. And that second script will use a library. We could actually have a look at that. It uses a library from Java that allows us to get access to making or filling out Excel files. So there's some more logic in here, some set cells and everything. The details of that are not so important. Just know that it's all possible getting the information from the XML file or from the calculations and putting it in Excel. So when the result of this is that we are now getting a Excel file that has been filled in by our script. So basically, with all the logic in here for the quoting, you just have to open up the Excel and the quote's done. Another thing that the script did at the end was that it changed the status after the script ran and made the Excel file. It also changed the status to quoted. So now it becomes very clear that if multiple people are using the system, this job has been quoted already. All right, so now let's take an example of it was quoted, now we got the order. And this is where we can show the communication part of things, because the system integration communication module also allows us to send messages to Integr8tor from an outside system. I'm going to simulate this by just using the browser. Like if you look at this job and I do a modify job, you see that there's no tool number filled in. I now have my system that says, okay, I'm going to give this the tool number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I hit that. Well, this would be issued by an other system. But I'm using it just simply in the browser. These are the commands that we can do: servlet, set parameter, the ID, we log in, we fill in a database parameter, and now when we do modify job, we now see that there's a tool number. The other thing, the next thing, the external system can then also say, you know what, this actually became an order. So with the move job, I can say, hit that again, I'm getting an OK back. And in a moment we will see here that the job will change location from quoted to new order. And that then in turn triggers other things, like for example, the output to our CAM system. The configuration of the outputs is covered in a different video, the Integr8tor training video that talks about configuring outputs. But in this case, we can say, you know, okay, well, this is now generating our, in this case, Ucamco structure, or if you use ODB, it makes the TGZ file. Part of this would also be interesting is that if we, together with the job, if we could actually pass some information along that we learned inside the Integr8tor software, then that we want to pass along to our CAM software. For example, we can give it already the minimums that we found so that we don't have to redo the analysis, because we can take advantage of what Integr8tor did. Or things like maybe this particular customer has been flagged with a customer alert, and we want to take advantage of that in the scripts that we are running on the CAM side of things, where we say, okay, attention, this customer had a customer alert. So for that one, I'm going to make an example as well. I'm just going to activate the last script that I have. And in this particular case, it's an example where we're making a text file that again will be triggered when we're putting the job as new order. I'm going to do it manually over here, new order. And that will trigger the creation of a text file that can be used by scripts on the CAM side. And that one would look something like this. So again, we are reading information from what we've calculated, and then we are writing a simple text file using Java commands. So this gives us our info.rc file. We switch this for a moment so we can read it more. So there we go. That's how we can use the level 1 automation module called System Integration and Communication. Thanks for watching this video. Take care.